It's official. The new Democratic Party has won the Manitoba Provincial election with 34 seats. The incumbent Progressive Conservatives government will now form official opposition with 22 seats, and the Liberals managed to elect one to the provincial legislature. And it's a historic day. Premier elect Wab Kinew will be the first ever First Nations premier in Canadian history. So, what issues were top of mind for voters this election cycle? What was the cause of the downfall for the Conservatives? And what can we expect from a Kinew led government? Weighing in on the recent Manitoba election is Darren Penner, a Conservative commentator, and former Manitoba MP Lawrence Toet. Thank you so much for joining me today, gentlemen. I appreciate your time for coming on. So let's dive right in because we have a lot to cover. Maybe we'll start with you, Lawrence. Were there any surprises with any of these results?
Unfortunately, I guess not any major surprise. If you look at where the polls were 3 to 6 months ago, I guess you could say the surprise was how well we actually did. There was talk of not even getting into double-digit seats. So I think, the results speak to some of the changes that were made over the last number of months. But obviously, a lot more work had to be done to get to where we needed to be.
Okay, Darren, how about you? Were you surprised with this result, or did you sort of see this coming?
I think that most people in Manitoba saw it coming, at least with a few weeks left in the election. It was closer at the end of the summer. The government did a pretty good tour announcing different priorities and spending events through the summer. But the tone shifted when the campaign started. And with a few weeks out, I think most people kind of saw where it was going.
Okay. So is this just simply, there's been a couple terms now of progressive conservatives, people have they're fatigued and they just want something new, something changed, Darren?
Yeah, so look, the PC's won 2 mandates under Mr. Pallister, and we did serve 7 years in government. And there's a lot of accomplishments there that are not going to be taken away by anybody. Mr. Kinew has agreed that they're going to maintain the education property tax changes that were brought in under Mr. Pallister. But you will see a difference in tone from the government now that it's a new Democrat administration. And they're certainly going to move the province to the left, probably like a cruise ship, not a speedboat. But the direction is certainly going to change.
Okay. Lawrence, walk us through some of the new MLAs who stand out that are joining the legislature. Were any of them stand out to you?
Not any in particular. I think a lot of the existing MLAs, obviously from the NDP in the previous opposition, will probably be forming some pretty major roles. Obviously having one of their candidates take out the Liberal leader in St. Boniface was quite the coup for them. And to see John Gerard, so Mike Morose has done a lot of work in River Heights. It'd be very interesting to see where he sits going forward with the party. John Gerard was almost a bit of a legend in River Heights, and that was quite an interesting outcome there. So, I think time will tell as to exactly how that cabinet is going to be a fairly new cabinet. Almost everybody there, it's very inexperienced in government, and that will be the biggest challenge I think that Mr. Kinew will face is the inexperience he has on his bench and how he can use that most effectively.
Darren, do you have any predictions about cabinet? Who you think will get some of the bigger, larger portfolios?
Well, I think it's fairly obvious there's going to be a focus on health. And here the NDP health critic was named Zoma Saboris, so I think they're definitely going into cabinet. There's going to be probably some surprises because the NDP have a lot of new MLAs. They picked up ridings they weren't expected to outside of Winnipeg. So if you're a New Democrat from outside Winnipeg, your odds of cabinet are pretty good. If you're one of the members who won their seats in South Winnipeg, they're probably going in as well, but they got 5 or 6 choices up.
Wow. How then, we only have about 40 seconds till commercial. How did the urban rural divide factor in, Darren, in this election cycle?
So the NDP basically won all of Winnipeg. It's an orange map except for a small corner. And that's one of the things that I think is sad about the campaign is that our party just completely lost average voters in the biggest city in the province.
Gotcha. Well, It's interesting, I find, as we look at various provincial elections across the country, there really tends to be a galvanization in the municipalities for those to vote a little bit more on the left side of the spectrum versus those in the rural. But this was a different result. Anyways, we're going to pick up this discussion in just a moment.